Hello, everyone. Welcome. You are tuning into the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan Public Scoping Meeting. We are getting started in just a moment, but we're just checking to make sure that our audio and visual is streaming appropriately to YouTube at the moment. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan Public Scoping Meeting. The City Environmental Quality Review, or CEQR, application number for this project is 24DCP132Q. My name is Stephanie Shalou. I'm the Director of the Environmental Assessment and Review Division, or EARD, with the New York City Department of City Planning. Tom Smith, the Senior Advisor for Neighborhood Studies and Special Projects in the Community Planning Engagement Division, will co-host today's meeting. In the event of any technical challenges on my end, Tom will step in to host the meeting. We truly appreciate you making time to join us today and appreciate your patience if we do run into any technical difficulties. I'll also emphasize that we will hear from everyone who wishes to speak today at this meeting, and the meeting will remain open until we've heard from all registered speakers. We also will welcome written comments on this application through 5 p.m. Monday, July 22nd, 2024, and we provide written comments with the same attention and consideration that we do to any comments provided live at this meeting today. Next slide. Excellent. We will now proceed to the public scoping meeting for the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan. For the record, again, let me note that the City Environmental Quality Review, or CEQR, application number for the project is 24DCP132Q. Today's date is July 11th, 2024, and the time is approximately 2:02 p.m. Next slide. Again, my name is Stephanie Shalou, Director of Environmental Assessment and Review Division at the New York City Department of City Planning. I'll be chairing today's scoping meeting. The Department of City Planning is acting on behalf of the City Planning Commission as the lead agency for the proposal's environmental review. As lead agency, the department will be responsible for overseeing the preparation and completion of the proposal's draft environmental impact statement, or DEIS. Next slide. Joining me are several of my colleagues from the Department of City Planning. Jasmine Tapale is the lead planner for the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan. Elisa Nermancha and Tristi Shakya are the senior planning team members for the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan in the Queen's Office. Tom Smith, as I mentioned, is senior advisor for neighborhood studies and special projects in the Community Planning and Engagement Division. And Andrew Martini is the project manager for the Neighborhood Plan in the Environmental Assessment and Review Division. I'll also mention that we are joined by a host of DCP staff members working in the background to make sure this meeting runs smoothly. Thanks, everyone, for your participation. Next slide. Together, we're here to receive your comments on the draft scope of work for the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan proposal. The draft scope of work identifies the subjects that will be analyzed in the upcoming environmental impact statement and describes the methodologies that will be used in those analyses. The draft scope of work materials are all available on the Department of City Planning's website. Next slide. The purpose of today's scoping meeting is to allow for public participation in the preparation of the DEIS at the earliest stage possible in the environmental review process. Specifically, scoping allows the public a voice in the environmental review and to shape the DEIS before it is written. Toward that end, the department as lead agency will receive verbal testimony on the draft scope of work from elected officials, government agencies, representatives of the local community board, and members of the general public. As I mentioned, we also welcome written comments on the draft scope of work, and those will be accepted through Monday, July 22nd, 2024 at 5 p.m. Next slide. At the end of the written comment period, the department as lead agency will review all of the comments that we receive, both those we hear today and any we receive in writing. We will carefully review all comments and decide what changes, if any, need to be made to the draft scope of work, and we'll issue the final scope of work. It is this final scope of work that serves as the basis of the preparation of the DEIS. Next slide. Today marks the beginning of the environmental review process for the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan. No decisions are going to be made today regarding the draft scope. Again, the purpose of today's meeting is to allow the public to provide their comments, to allow the department to listen to those comments, and for all voices in the process to be heard today. Next slide. I'll now focus on the structure of today's meeting, which is divided into 3 parts. During the first part, the Department of City Planning will provide a brief overview of the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan. Our environmental consultant will provide a brief summary of the environmental review's draft scope of work. Together, this will be about 20 minutes. In the second part of the meeting, the department will hear testimony from elected officials, government agencies, and those speaking on behalf of the local community boards. And then during the third and final part of the meeting, we'll be receiving testimony from members of the general public. Next slide. On to a few logistics for today's scoping meeting. If you wish to speak and plan to access this meeting online using a computer, tablet, or smartphone, please remember to register through the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan public scoping meeting on the NYC Engage portal at www.nyc.gov/NYC-engage. After you've registered through NYC Engage, a link to join us and provide your testimony will be emailed to you after you've completed the registration process. We'll add you to our speakers list, but only those registered speakers will have an opportunity to speak today at this meeting. Next slide. When it's your turn to speak, your name will be called and you'll be promoted to panelist. This will allow you to unmute your microphone and the ability to turn on your camera if you wish. There is a short period that appears you're no longer in the meeting. Don't be alarmed. You'll automatically rejoin the Zoom as a panelist. At this point, you'll be asked to convey your remarks. To allow us to hear from everyone, we do ask that you limit your remarks to 3 minutes. If you're participating online, a 3-minute countdown clock will run on the screen. At the 3-minute mark, you'll be asked to conclude your remarks, and your time will expire. Please note that promoting speakers does take a moment, so we appreciate everyone's patience. And if you do choose to turn on your camera, we will be able to see you. Next slide. Anyone joining us by phone today, if you wish to provide testimony via telephone, you'll need to select *9 when prompted. Please listen for me to call out the last 3 digits of the phone number from which you joined, and at that point, you'll be given the temporary ability to share your testimony. You'll need to press *6 to unmute your telephone, and we'll be able to hear you speak at this meeting. And when your testimony is complete or your 3 minutes have expired, whichever comes first, you'll press *6 again to mute yourself. We would like to encourage anyone dialing in to provide testimony to register using our dial-in participant hotline, information for which was shown at the beginning of this meeting. Next slide. On to time limits. Speakers from the general public have 3 minutes to provide their testimony. There are a few exceptions to the 3-minute limit. Elected officials, for example, are given the courtesy of jumping to the front of the queue and are not time limited. For anyone joining us on live stream and wishing to testify, please be mindful of potential background noise during your testimony. Make sure that the live stream is muted when you begin your testimony to avoid hearing an echo. If anyone's viewing today's presentation but does not wish to provide testimony, we are live streaming to YouTube and you're welcome to view today's meeting there. If you do wish to provide written testimony, it can be submitted to the Department of City Planning. Our mailing address is shown on the screen here, 120 Broadway, 31st floor, New York, New York, 10271. Attention to myself, Stephanie Shalou. We also have an email address set up specifically to receive comments on this project. The email address is 24dcp132q_dl@planning.nyc.gov. This information can be found on the NYC Engage portal and on the DCP website. We'll accept comments, as I mentioned, through Monday, July 22nd, 2024 at 5 p.m. Next slide. If you missed any of our instructions, please visit NYC Engage for instructions on how to participate and provide testimony. We'll now move on to the first part of our presentation, where the Queen's Office will provide an overview of the proposed project, followed by a summary of the draft scope of work. I'll hand it over to Elisa.
Thank you, Stephanie. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elisa Nurmancha. I'm a borough planner at the Queen's Office working on the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan. Next slide, please. The Jamaica Neighborhood Plan is a vision with goals and strategies for the next 15 years to shape how and where Jamaica grows. The plan is being developed through a collaborative process that includes community leaders, community organizations, city agencies, and other local stakeholders to think about Jamaica's future and propose ideas for programs, services, policies, and other investments. After a year of community engagement, which culminated in a town hall in June and subsequent deep dive sessions, we are now preparing to formally kickstart the environmental review process. Next slide. The neighborhood plan centrally focuses on Jamaica Center. It goes north to Hillside Avenue from the Van Wyck Expressway to Hollis, and then south of the Long Island Railroad tracks along major corridors like Sutphin, Guyer Brewer, and Merrick Boulevard. I want to take a moment to emphasize that we are not proposing any zoning changes around the single-family and two-family areas. Our neighborhood plan is around Jamaica Center, important corridors, and around the industrial areas. Next slide. So who's been involved with this process so far? This includes all of you here today and thousands of community members who already share their ideas and perspectives on the future of their neighborhood. We are the New York City Department of City Planning, and it's our job to coordinate with all of you, as well as our partner agencies and elected officials. The planning process is guided by a steering committee formed by Councilmember Natasha Williams. The steering committee is made up of community leaders, local organizations, businesses, institutions, and elected officials who advise on this process and help us maximize participation. The council member also formed an executive committee to bring together local, state, and federal elected officials who represent Jamaica. Finally, we coordinate closely with the city and state agencies to make sure future policy, programs, and services are aligned with the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan. The Department of Housing Preservation and Development, or HPD, is a co-applicant for the disposition of a number of city-owned sites for future development. Next slide. No one knows more about the current and future needs of Jamaica than the people who live, work, and go to school here. We've tabled at events, created a survey that received over 1,000 responses, convened working groups, brought together local high school students, held an exhibit at Queens Public Library, and much more. We're going to continue to create opportunities for everyone in the community to engage in this process. So I hope that you tell your family, your neighbors, people you know who work in the neighborhood, and get them involved. Next slide. Jamaica has a long history, which highlights the places and people that have created the Jamaica we know today. There are many histories of Jamaica, some of which are documented, but many that are not. These are just a few highlights of the recent planning history, but they are far from a complete story. In 2007, the Jamaica Plan rezoned the area around Jamaica Center and established voluntary inclusionary housing, created the Downtown Jamaica Special District, and the Jamaica Gateway Urban Renewal Area. Following the 2007 Jamaica Plan was the Jamaica Now Action Plan that looked at investment and improvements in the neighborhood. And more recently, the Downtown Revitalization Initiative from the state, which funded different projects and initiatives like the Greater Nexus on Parsons Boulevard, which is a local co-working space. Next slide. There are many things that people celebrate about this neighborhood, but we've heard from civically minded residents and elected officials that they want to celebrate the past while proactively building the future they want. Our goals reflect improvements that residents want to see in the neighborhood, and we'll review each of them in this section to explain the question of why now. Next slide. From 2010 to 2020, Jamaica's population has increased by 13.4%, higher than the rest of New York City, which grew by 7.7%. Meanwhile, housing production has only increased by 10%. 57% of renter households in Jamaica are rent burdened, meaning they spend more than a third of their income on rent. As a comparison, citywide, where housing production has increased a bit closer to the population increased, 52 residents are rent burdened. Housing is considered affordable if it costs less than a third of your income. As we envision a future for Jamaica with these housing issues in mind, Jamaica must improve quality of life in the neighborhood for current and future residents. Next slide. Residents of Jamaica face some of the longest commute times in New York City with 47 minutes. As a comparison, citywide and in Queens, commute times are roughly 41 and 43 minutes, respectively. Those long journeys point to a lack of job opportunities in the neighborhood. So, Jamaica must foster a thriving local economy and help residents build wealth. Next slide. Jamaica has a heat vulnerability score of 5, the highest risk amongst other New York City neighborhoods. That means Jamaica residents are not only dealing with higher temperatures, they're also at a greater risk for health-related illness or death. The factors included in the heat vulnerability index are surface temperature, green space, and access to home air conditioning. Fewer households in Jamaica have air conditioners than in Queens overall. As climate change continues to make our urban spaces hotter, improving green spaces is an important way to help combat heat vulnerability. Areas covered by trees, grass, and other plants instead of hard surfaces like roads and sidewalks tend to reduce temperatures in the immediate area and may increase air quality. As we envision a future for Jamaica, it must be climate resilient and environmentally just. Next slide. Hospitalizations related to injuries from assaults capture the consequences of community violence. Jamaica and Hollis have a rate of assault-related hospitalizations that is higher than the citywide rate. Public safety is improved when the physical characteristics of the environment encourage residents to feel a sense of ownership and collective guardianship or defensible space. Children in Jamaica are more likely to be hospitalized for asthma than children from other neighborhoods in Queens. Public health and the built environment are closely related to one another. Your zip code determines your health outcomes more than your genetic code. Therefore, Jamaica must achieve equitable health and safety outcomes for current and future residents. Next slide. In Jamaica, 53% of residents are Black, 16% are Asian, and 18% are Hispanic Latinx. However, Black residents have seen a slight decline in population from 2010 to 2020. Jamaica also has a high foreign-born population. Most are coming from Bangladesh, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and the Dominican Republic. As we continue to plan for the future and Jamaica continues to change, Jamaica must maintain cultural diversity and nurture inclusivity. Next slide. Jamaica's jazz, hip hop, and arts history is one of the most prominent in the city and even the nation. Notable artists include Billie Holiday, John Coltrane, Run DMC, and LL Cool J. We've also heard from residents during our community engagement that Jamaica's cultural history should be more well known. So Jamaica must preserve and bolster the neighborhood's rich multicultural history. Next slide. With all of this in mind, we worked with many community members to create a vision for this project. Jamaica is prosperous thanks to affordability and inclusivity, its diversity, and its business opportunities and investment activities. To achieve this vision, together we created a set of overarching goals for this neighborhood plan. Improve quality of life in the neighborhood for current and future residents, foster a thriving local economy and help residents build wealth, create a climate resilient and environmentally just Jamaica, achieve equitable health and safety outcomes for current and future residents, maintain cultural diversity and nurture inclusivity in Jamaica, and preserve and bolster Jamaica's rich multicultural history. These goals are guiding our current and future decision-making about housing, transportation, the public realm, arts and culture, and more. Next slide. As we plan for the next 15 years with you all, local organizations, elected officials, and city and state agencies, we're working to coordinate a package of zoning strategies, capital investments, policies, programs, and services to support the prosperous Jamaica you all have envisioned. In this next section, we focus on our zoning strategies and proposed land use actions. While zoning alone cannot address all the issues the community has raised, it does play an important role in creating the potential for opportunities and improvements. Next slide. The draft zoning framework represents where we think the neighborhood's land use should change and where it should stay the same. It describes the places where we can create more opportunities for affordable housing, as well as places where we'd like to grow more jobs. This is only one part of the neighborhood plan. The overall plan will include capital investments, policies, programs, and services, but our focus this afternoon will be on the zoning framework section. Next slide. Like we mentioned earlier in this presentation, our work is guided by the goals that were informed by community input and research. Each goal has a number of strategies that you can find on our website, but we specifically highlighted the strategies that the zoning framework is addressing. For example, as you see under Goal 1, to improve quality of life, the zoning framework aims to create a supportive environment for diverse businesses to grow or open up to meet the needs of the community. Next slide. The set of land use actions proposed consists of a zoning map amendment to rezone the existing zoning districts to zoning districts that would better accommodate the land use objectives. The other zoning map amendment is to expand the downtown Jamaica Special District, co-terminus with the rezoning area. Accompanying these actions are zoning text amendments to establish the rezoning area as a mandatory inclusionary housing area where new housing is permitted, which will require at least 20 to 30% of all new units to be permanently affordable, and to update the regulations within the special district text. Other land use actions include disposition and acquisition of sites to facilitate future housing and commercial development. Next slide. This is a map of the proposed draft zoning framework. Each of the colored areas represent a zoning district. Places that are not colored do not have proposed zoning changes, even if they are within the black line indicating the study area boundary. The areas in pink and red are commercial districts that will allow for commercial and residential uses at a higher density, concentrating the highest density around the Jamaica Long Island Railroad and subway stations on Archer Avenue. The areas in yellow are medium density residential districts that allow for moderate growth of housing development along corridors such as Sutphin Boulevard, Guy Arbor, and Merrick Boulevard. The areas in purple are manufacturing districts that will open up opportunities for growing industries and other commercial uses. Areas in blue around the Long Island Railroad Station are higher density, mixed-use residential and commercial districts that will allow a wide range of commercial uses. All areas that allow for residential uses will be mapped as a mandatory inclusionary housing area. Next slide. The zoning changes also include proposed updates to this downtown Jamaica Special District. We're considering a number of zoning tools to help support the goals that we heard earlier. Some of these tools include requiring the ground floors to be active, like having stores, or urban design controls that would further regulate height and setback and street walls to help create buildings that with a uniform look, and also other tools. Next slide. We are currently in the middle of a process. The proposed zoning actions are now entering environmental review. While the zoning proposal goes through environmental review, we will continue working with you, the community, and our partner agencies to define potential investments that are needed to support the neighborhood as it grows. Then we will come back together next year to kick off the uniform land use review process, where stakeholders, including community boards, borough presidents, the City Planning Commission, and the City Council will all have a chance to weigh in on the plan. And if approved, the plan will result in new zoning, as well as new programs, services, and capital projects. Next slide. And now I'll pass it over to the environmental consultant, Philip Habib and Associates, the team conducting the environmental analysis for the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan.
Thanks, Elisa. My name is Abir Sabat from Philip Habib and Associates, the environmental consultant for the project. Next slide, please. City Environmental Quality Review, or CEQR, is a process that looks at the effects a project might have on the environment for the proposed land use application. CEQR is a disclosure process by which decision makers evaluate potential environmental consequences before approving a discretionary action. Next slide, please. The draft scope of work is a document that describes the project and what's being proposed, provides an outline of what environmental topics will be specifically studied, and details the types of data to be gathered and how the data will be analyzed. In other words, the draft scope of work provides the framework for how the draft environmental impact statement, or DEIS, will be prepared. Next slide. The Department of City Planning identified a total of 215 soft sites that could be redeveloped as a result of the proposed actions, which include 100 projected development sites and 115 potential development sites. Projected development sites are considered more likely to be developed by the selected analysis year, while potential sites are considered less likely to be developed over the same period. Next slide, please. Although neighborhood plans are typically analyzed across a 10-year period, the Jamaica Neighborhood Plans Analysis Framework utilizes a 15-year period in order to provide a more comprehensive picture of how a plan of this scale impacts long-term development conditions. Therefore, the DEIS analyses will assume a 2040 analysis year. The DEIS will identify the effects of the proposed actions and analyze impacts by comparing the future no action condition to the future with the proposed actions, utilizing the criteria outlined in the CEQR technical manual to determine significant adverse impacts. As described in the draft scope of work, a reasonable worst-case development scenario was established for environmental analysis purposes. In the no action condition, most projected development sites are assumed to either remain unchanged from existing conditions or become occupied by uses that are as of right under existing zoning and reflect current trends. In the with action condition, the proposed actions would permit and expand housing production and enhance flexibility for commercial and manufacturing uses. As noted earlier, 100 projected development sites and 115 potential development sites have been identified, and the site selection criteria and parameters are detailed in the draft scope of work. The DEIS will assess projected development sites for both density-related and site-specific potential impacts, whereas potential development sites, which are less likely to be developed by the analysis year, will be assessed for site-specific impacts only. Next slide, please. This table summarizes the reasonable worst-case development scenario for the projected development sites under both the no action and with action conditions. And the increment column on the right shows the development increment that will be used in the density-based technical analyses. As shown in the table, the proposed actions are expected to result in an increment of approximately 11,759 residential units, including a significant number of affordable units, as well as an overall increase in retail and office uses, community facility space, and industrial floor area. In terms of population, the reasonable worst-case development scenario is projected to introduce approximately 36,000 additional residents and 6,965 additional workers to the area compared to no action conditions. Next slide, please. As shown on the slide, the proposed actions require consideration of all of the impact categories outlined in the CEQR technical manual, with the exception of natural resources, which is not triggered given the area's built-out nature. For example, as the proposed actions would introduce a substantial number of new residents to the area, they trigger an analysis of socioeconomic conditions, as well as public schools, libraries, and early childhood programs. Similarly, the residents and workers introduced to the area by the proposed actions would increase demand for use of publicly accessible open spaces, and therefore an analysis of open space resources is triggered. The proposed actions would result in an increase in the number of vehicular trips and increased ridership on mass transit facilities and services, and would also increase the number of pedestrians in the area due to the additional residents and workers. Therefore, the DEIS will analyze the changes to traffic, transit, and pedestrian conditions as a result of the proposed actions. The increased traffic introduced by the proposed actions may have the potential to affect local air quality levels, and therefore an air quality analysis is warranted. In addition, as portions of the project area are located within or near manufacturing zone districts, an analysis of emissions from industrial sources will be performed. As the reasonable worst-case development scenario identifies 100 projected development sites, which are expected to have overlapping construction schedules, a construction impact assessment will also be provided in the DEIS. The draft scope of work provides a more detailed outline of how each of these technical areas will be analyzed. The DEIS will also include a mitigation chapter, which would describe mitigation measures to address any significant adverse impacts that are identified in the technical analyses. Where impacts cannot be mitigated, they will be identified as unavoidable adverse impacts. An alternatives chapter will be included in the DEIS to evaluate reasonable options that may reduce or eliminate any significant action-related impacts. At this time, the DEIS is expected to analyze a no-action alternative and a no-impact or no unmitigated impact alternative. Other additional alternatives may be developed in consultation with the Department of City Planning during the scoping process. The draft scope can be viewed in its entirety online on the Department of City Planning's website. With that, I'll pass it back over to Stephanie from DCP.
Thank you. Thank you all for the presentation. We will now move on to part 2 of the meeting. At this time, we will be receiving testimony from elected officials, community board leaders, and government agencies. When it is your turn to speak, your name will be called and you'll be promoted to panelist. This will allow you to unmute your microphone and the ability to turn on your camera if you wish. There is a short period that it will appear that you're no longer in the meeting. Don't be alarmed. You'll automatically rejoin the Zoom as a panelist. If anyone experiences technical issues that prevent you from sharing your testimony, we're going to pause, try to troubleshoot in the background and move to our next speaker, but we will come back to you if we have resolved any technical issues. We also have how-to guides available on the NYC Engage page for assistance. We also have a call-in helpline that anyone can dial into for assistance. You can dial any of these toll-free numbers shown at the top of the screen, including 877-853-5247. And then when prompted for a meeting ID, use the number at the bottom of this screen in red, 618-237-7396. And when prompted for the password, dial 1. All right, with that, we will get to our speakers in this group. First up is Councilmember Natasha Williams. We will promote you to panelist in just a moment, and you'll be invited to share your testimony.
Hello.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Can I just begin?
Yep, begin whenever you wish.
Great. Good afternoon, everybody. The Jamaica Neighborhood Plan has been shaped by extensive community engagement. You heard just a few minutes ago about some of our community engagement efforts and reflects the aspirations and concerns of our residents. Over the past months, I have worked closely with local stakeholders, including the Community Board, Business Improvement District, Houses of Worship, and civic associations to ensure the plan's goals aligns with our community's needs. This collaborative process has highlighted several priorities, including affordable housing, job creation, and infrastructure improvements. I am encouraged by the plan's potential to strengthen the downtown Jamaica area as a dynamic mixed-use neighborhood where residents can live, work, and play in comfort. The proposed zoning updates will facilitate increased housing opportunities, including affordable housing units under the mandatory inclusionary housing program. Additionally, the plan supports the expansion of retail, entertainment, arts, office, and other commercial developments alongside community facilities. I'm quite frankly sick of going to Manhattan to have fun. That's not in my talking points, but that's what I wanted to say. These developments are expected to enhance the quality of life for all of our residents and contribute to the area's economic vitality. In addition, the plan's inclusion of the American-Guyborough Boulevard corridors present excellent opportunities for development of affordable housing, including senior housing and home ownership opportunities by well-established faith-based organizations. While the proposal is comprehensive in its ambition, there are areas where further enhancement is necessary. The community has raised significant concerns regarding infrastructure, particularly in terms of transportation, public health, and environmental sustainability. It is imperative that the environmental impact statement rigorously studies and addresses these issues to ensure sustainable growth. Specific recommendations, including redesigning Hillside Avenue to improve pedestrian safety and considering a comprehensive parking plan, because we do drive cars in Queens, that includes the redevelopment of the Archer Avenue municipal parking lot and reassessing placard usage in the area to address the parking demands. I must also ensure that land use policy for the Jamaica IBZ facilities growth of cleaner, more job-intensive businesses rather than uses like commercial waste hauling and concrete plants that are not appropriate for residential neighbors right next door. The Jamaica Neighborhood Plan should also address community concerns about job opportunities and quality of life. The proximity of Jamaica to JFK International Airport and its regional rail and bus connectivity suggests that the downtown area has great potential in the hospitality industry. However, the city's need for temporary shelter space has displaced some existing hotel use. I hope that the plan provides an opportunity to encourage the reactivation of existing hotel spaces to be used as actual hotels for our visitors to support more tourism and hospitality in the downtown Jamaica area. I'm going to segue and say, as I think about this plan and just mentioning this issue with the shelters, there are a few articles that have come out about certain communities having to bear the brunt of our unhoused issue in New York City. And this is an opportunity for the city to right this wrong and to be long-term thinking about how to really revitalize the area and bring it back to its intended use and opportunities. I hope this plan provides an opportunity to really do this. So for any capital projects that the city commits to, as always, it should be the goal of the city to promote local and minority and women-owned businesses and emphasize local hiring. The potential impacts of climate change on the study area must also be thoroughly examined in the EIS. This includes evaluating the risk of increased rainfall, localized flooding, and the urban heat island effect. Additionally, our community has suffered significantly from inadequate sewer infrastructure and a rising groundwater level that has damaged many properties within the study map. I'm also seeking strategies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and promote renewable energy. This should also be included in the plan. Ensuring that the EIS meets the highest standards will help us address these challenges effectively. The Jamaica Neighborhood Plan is a promising framework for fostering a more resilient and thriving community. By incorporating the community's feedback and addressing critical infrastructure needs, we can create a neighborhood that offers ample housing, diverse employment opportunities, and a high quality of life for all residents. I look forward to working with the Department of City Planning and other stakeholders to bring this vision to fruition. I really appreciate the commitment to a transparent and inclusive planning process. My full remarks will be submitted electronically into the record at a later time, but a member of my team, Whitney Mozak, who's still here, will be joining for the duration of this scoping session and bring back whatever feedback that was raised today in this meeting. So thank you all so much for your attention, and I look forward to continuing this process that I hope and that I'm optimistic will create better opportunities, better investments to realize what we all know is the amazingness of Jamaica Queens. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember, for your testimony, and we look forward to receiving your written comments as well. Thanks for being here. Our next speaker in this group is Ty Hankerson, speaking on behalf of Council Speaker Adrian Adams' office. Ty Hankerson, we will promote you to panelist in just a moment, and you'll be invited to provide the remarks.
All right, good afternoon.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Ty Hankerson, District Chief of Staff for Council Speaker Adrian Adams, and I'll be providing testimony on behalf of the Speaker's office. Even affordable housing is becoming unaffordable to many individuals and families while our shelter system is bursting at the seams. As part of the Jamaica Plan, we need to ensure that deeply affordable housing can be achieved, including through the use of the deep affordability option of MIH, which should be available as one of the mandatory MIH options for this rezoning. Increasingly, young working families are finding it harder and harder to buy a home in Southeast Queens. HPD needs to find more ways to bring affordable homeownership opportunities to District 28 and throughout the entirety of Southeast Queens. This is why the Speaker sponsored legislation that would require HPD to double the production of affordable homeownership opportunities. As part of this planning process, affordable home ownership needs to be prioritized, including outreach and education for existing and potential new homeowners through the identification of sites and, if possible, through zoning or other land use tools. Crucial to improving the quality of life of Jamaica, as well as increasing job opportunities and neighborhood amenities and services, is improving the look and feel of our commercial areas. In particular, for District 28, the Liberty Avenue, Garabua Boulevard, and Southern commercial corridors are in need of improvement. Increased density may be part of the solution, but other tools are needed to ensure this plan and rezoning leaves these areas better off than before and more, rather than less compatible with adjacent residential areas. Community facility spaces for the arts, cultural uses, youth, and seniors are needed within District 28. As part of this Jamaica Plan and Rezoning, DCP needs to evaluate possible zoning or other land use tools that can be made available to prioritize these types of spaces. Thank you so much for allowing me to testify today, Steph.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And we're, of course, happy to receive any written comments as well.
Absolutely, we will provide it. Great.
The next speaker in this group is Amir Abadi, which I believe is associated with Councilmember Williams' office, who does not appear in the room. So we will move on to our next speaker, Reverend Thorbs, associated with the, speaking on behalf of the Community Board 12. Reverend Thorbs, we will promote you to panelist and you'll be invited to share your testimony in just a moment.
Good afternoon.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Again, thank you everyone for putting together this planning session, this scoping session. Transparency is everything. And this is something that we need to get out. 2 o'clock in the afternoon is an interesting hour, but we also needed to get out again to other people in our community, other members of our community who are unable to be on at this time. I know that Council Member Williams has done a number of meetings and the information has been coming out, but we need to do some more. Yes, we're told that we have a housing issue, but we also have to look at infrastructure as well to make sure that we have the schools, sanitation, and everything else that's needed to back up what plan that they have for the community. My only question, well, not just my only question, but this main question I do have, with the zoning, with what's going on in downtown Jamaica, how does this work? What is the need, the additional need for the additional, is this additional height? Do we not have enough building going on? Because remember, the building that we have that's taking place now is from, 2007, 2009, from that rezoning. So that I'm sure that is a question, not just that I'm asking, but there are others on here that are probably asking the same question. But again, we look forward to working with the council member's office and with your office as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. All comments and questions received during this meeting will be responded to and summarized in the final scope of work that will be published subsequently. So thank you, and we appreciate you being here. All right. That is the last speaker in group 2 of elected officials, government agencies, and folks representing the local community board. So at this time, we are going to move to part 3 of the meeting, in which we will hear from members of the general public in the order in which they registered. So now I'll ask our production to go to our 3-minute time tracker that will be displayed for all the following speakers that are limited to 3 minutes. When it is your turn to speak, again, your name will be called and you'll be promoted to panelist. You can turn on your mic and your camera if you wish. Will appear that you're out of the meeting for a moment, but you'll automatically rejoin to be able to provide your remarks. Please remember, after 3 minutes have passed, you will be asked to conclude your remarks. And if anyone experiences technical difficulties, again, as a reminder, we'll pause, go to our next speaker, but allow troubleshooting to happen in the background. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to dial in to our participant hotline at 877-853-5247 with the meeting ID of 618-237-73 896 with the password of 1. All right, so we will move on to our speakers queue. Our first speaker will be Jennifer Delatour, followed by Minister Renee Sims, followed by Carol Forbes. So Jennifer, you are our next speaker. You'll be promoted in just a moment. Hi, welcome.
Yes, hello. Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Delatour. I'm a resident of Community Board 12, as well as I serve as the director of the Jamaica Community Partnership at Rising Ground. Our program is located our Queens Hub office is located at Merrick Boulevard and Jamaica Avenue within the downtown core area of the zoning framework. Rising Ground is one of New York City's oldest human service organizations with more than 190 years of service to the most vulnerable New Yorkers. The Jamaica Community Partnership offers a wide range of supports to any member of the Jamaica community. The Jamaica Community Partnership directly interacts with over 800 residents, bringing together community stakeholders, organizations, and residents to address the needs of the community. We experience firsthand every day what community members are seeking. We applaud the work, the outreach, the inclusion of the community, and overall direction of the plan. We want to highlight 4 environmental impact concerns that have consistently been brought to our attention. Regarding the development of more affordable housing, it is essential that the mandatory inclusionary housing model is followed. New units must actually be affordable for community member and lower income residents. As previously stated, Jamaica shoulders a large burden of shelters, including individual, family, and newly arrived migrant family shelters. Affordable housing could help these families transition to stable housing in a neighborhood which they have been building connections and support. Yet we urge the committee, when considering rezoning, to not erase the residential feel of private homes. Developing smaller buildings with the R7A along transit corridors combines the needed housing and offers the opportunity to have commercial and/or public space on street levels. This could relieve some of the feelings of overcrowding and lack of public spaces for neighbors to meet and socialize. As a human service provider, we experience the value of having space that is accessible and promote a welcoming environment which storefront spaces could provide. We also recommend that multi-housing unit buildings be required to have on-street parking, as street parking is not available. In these housing units are designed for families. School capacity must also be increased. Current Jamaica schools are already overcrowded. The plan should consider development of new public single school constructions. The additional students need to be supported, and the longer term planning should reflect the need as younger school population ages. Next, we urge the committee to consider traffic patterns of daily life in the community, especially along transit corridors such as Merrick and Guy Arbor Boulevards. These corridors need to reflect the existing and planned car and pedestrian traffic. These boulevards already jam with cars, commercial deliveries causing double parking, and public bus lanes. Large apartment buildings would increase the congestion, poor air quality, and noise pollution, and street garbage, and greater possibility for injury and accidents. Special attention needs to be paid to these routes that school children will be taking, including safe pedestrian crossings and additional public transit capacity and curbside. Yes, I am wrapping up. We will also be submitting additional written testimony by the DP. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Great. Thank you for your testimony, and we look forward to receiving your additional comments. Our next speaker is Minister Renee Sims and Carol Forbes. These 2 members of the public are registered to participate via dial-in. If either of you have joined via phone, if you could dial *9 on your telephone at this time to indicate that you're in the room at this moment. *9 if Renee Sims or Carol Forbes has joined the room via phone. Okay, it does not appear that either of these folks are in the room, so we will skip. But if either of you are able to join at a later time and wish to speak, we will come back to you. All right, so our next speaker is Andrea Scarborough, followed by Steve Bodden. Andrea Scarborough, you are our next speaker. You'll be promoted to panelist in just a moment to provide your testimony.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Members of Jamaica Neighborhood Plan Committee. My name is Andrea Scarborough. I'm a former president of my civic, Addersley Park Civic Organization, a board member of the Queens Solid Waste Advisory Board, as well as a board member of the recently formed Southeast Queens Resident Environmental Justice Coalition. SEQR, as it's known, is an organization that advocates for environmental policy changes and tangible improvements in the Southeast Queens community. Today, I come before you speaking as a concerned resident of the Jamaica community opposed to the industrial upzoning from M1-2 to M2-3A on the Liberty Avenue area, as well as upzoning from M1 to M3-2A on Dunkirk Street. Speaking as a resident that lives in proximity to Liberty Avenue and Dunkirk Street, I question why there would be any consideration to upzoning our community for heavier industrial use. The area is overburdened with waste transfer station that belong in an M3 zoned area, trucks spewing emissions and idling, auto salvage, junkyard businesses, and a cement manufacturing company that generates dust along Liberty Avenue. These businesses sit in the center of a residential community, 400 feet from a park and surrounded by 1- and 2-family homes. About a year and a half ago, the New York State contracted Aclima Tech Leader in block level air pollution to measure air pollution by Aclima cars driving along neighborhood streets. The Liberty Avenue M1 zoned area was part of the study, and it was revealed high levels of PM 2.5 and black carbon in the 90 to 95 percentile. We all know that many residents in the area suffer with asthma. The Climate Justice Economic Tool lists asthma in the 85 to 89% range for the area. We know that black carbon contributes to lung cancer and respiratory diseases. Again, why would there be consideration to upzoning to encourage more potentially noxious uses and increased greenhouse gas emission and noise? Heavy industrial zoning does not belong directly opposite to residents' homes. That has always been the Department of City Planning, New York City guidelines, that light manufacturing is acceptable near residential areas, but certainly not heavier industrial facilities, namely those facilities that sit in M2 and M3 zones. This is clearly environmental injustice to upzone industrial use in a residential neighborhood, overburdening even more an already overburdened community. It was never the intent to place M2 and M3 zones right next to where people are raising their families. I'm almost done. The map needs to be corrected, and if possible, downzone, so it looks like the existing community of residential homes that sit there today. Thank you for your time today, and I will be submitting testimony.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you for raising these important issues and taking time out of your day to be here today. We appreciate it. All right. Our next speaker is Steve Bodden, to be followed by Victor Hall, followed by William Scarborough. Steve Bodden, you are our next speaker. You'll be promoted to panelist in just a moment and able to provide your testimony. Are we able to promote Steve Bodden to panelist? All right, it seems like we are having issues promoting that speaker, so we will, if we're able to resolve those technical issues, we will come back to you. Our next speaker, Victor Hall, does not appear to be in the room. Victor Hall, if you are in the room as a a dial-in participant hotline or a dial-in participant. You can dial *9 on your phone. Victor Hall, again, if you are in the room, *9. All right, we will move to our next speaker, William Scarborough, who will be followed by Marion Phillips, followed by Adjoa Jazifa. William Scarborough, you are our next speaker. We'll promote you to panelist and for you to provide your testimony.
Hello?
Hi, welcome.
Yeah. Can you hear me? I can't see myself. All
Yes,
right.
we can.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. My name is William Scarborough. I'm joining as the president of the Addisley Park Civic Organization and also the president of the Southeast Queens Residents Environmental Justice Coalition. First, let me thank Council Member Williams and City Planning for the efforts over these months to bring the community into this process. My concern is similar to what was expressed by the last speaker, Andrea Scarborough, is the change of the, I have two concerns actually, the change of the industrial area, the manufacturing zone from M1 along Liberty Avenue to M2-3 and the M1 zone along Dunkirk Street to M3-2. These zones, the M2 zone is a heavier industrial zone, and the zoning resolution says that required performance standards are lower than M1 districts, except when M2 border on residential districts, higher levels of noise, vibration, smoke are allowed. These areas have already suffered from non-conforming uses. They suffered greatly. And she indicated the types of concerns that we have health-wise. Opening these areas to higher zoning will simply increase those concerns and those health disparities. Our experience with the agencies that need to provide the performance standards has been very bad. We have no evidence that they will make these businesses adhere to the performance standards. As a result, the DCP may have plans for a certain type of business to go in, but you're opening the door for other businesses over which you have no control, which can go in as of right. And given the past experience, that would not be helpful. Insofar as the housing, we want to bring to your attention the fact that there's a high water table in this area that must be addressed when you develop housing. The housing along the Merrick Boulevard, Guy Brewer, Sutphin Boulevard corridor and downtown Jamaica will provide substantial housing. I think there needs to be a recognition that new housing is coming and that the city of Yes, which I know is not part of this particular plan, but would be, kind of developed along the same lines, would increase the housing even more. And so we would be talking about not just a little more housing in every neighborhood, but a substantial increase in housing and a substantial increase in the way that this would impact our community and negatively so. Please take those considerations into account. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for being here and for providing your testimony. Thank you. Our next speaker is Marion Phillips, who has indicated that they're a dial-in participant. Marion Phillips, if you are in the room, and you can dial *9 at this time to indicate that you are in the room. Marion Phillips, please dial *9 if you're in the room. All right, we are not seeing an indication. So Marion Phillips, if you join at a later date, we will provide you the opportunity to provide your testimony. Our next speaker is Adjoa Jazifa, followed by Roderick Caesar III, followed by Reverend Hugh Hamilton. Adjoa Josefa, if you are, you'll be promoted to panelist in just a moment, and feel free to correct pronunciation if I'm mispronouncing anyone's names, of course. Apologies.
Good afternoon.
Hi, welcome.
Yes, my name is Ajwa Gifa. I am representing here today the St. Albans Congregational Church, which is located on Linden Boulevard on 72nd and Mon Place. So as a member of the St. Albans Congregational Church's Justice and Witness Ministry, one of the things that we wanted to bring to the attention of this committee is that we would like to build a senior citizens complex within our land and our facility, have a facility for senior citizens. Our community, like many others across the nation, is experiencing a demographic shift with a growing population of seniors. Many of these individuals face increasing difficulties in finding affordable housing that meets their needs. The St. Albans Congregational Church Initiative is a timely and comprehensive response to this challenge, aiming to provide high-quality housing specifically designed for seniors. The proposed senior housing project is not just about providing shelter, it is about enhancing the quality of life for our elderly population. Allowing the construction of this housing project on Mary Boulevard will also yield significant economic and social benefits for the community. Job creation, the construction and ongoing operation of the facility will create jobs supporting local employment. Local economy boosts, it will increase population density. Population density can lead to greater patronage of local businesses, boosting the local economy, intergenerational connections, that the presence of the senior housing can foster connections between different generations, enhancing the social fabric of our community. Other issues that I'd like to address would be the sanitation issues within our community. We need improved waste collection. We need to enhance waste collection schedules and efficiency to prevent littering and illegal dumping, ensuring cleaner streets and public spaces. Recycling programs, I don't know why they would have eliminated them, but we need to reinstitute them to include recycling in our programs. We need street cleaning to increase the frequency of street cleaning services to maintain cleanliness and improve the overall aesthetics of the community, and public education to implement public education campaigns to encourage residents to participate in keeping their neighborhoods clean and litter-free. In the infrastructure area, we would like to see more road maintenance prioritized, repairs, public transportation improved for our community, parks and recreation to invest in the development and maintenance of parks and recreational facilities to provide residents with safe and enjoyable outdoor spaces, and flood prevention to implement measures addressing flooding issues such as upgrading drainage systems and investing in green infrastructure to manage stormwater more effectively. I will also be submitting written testimony and adding to what I have just espoused to you. Thank you very much for hosting this event, and I would like to also thank my City Councilwoman Natasha Williams for bringing this to our community and allowing us to participate. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. We look forward to receiving your additional comments. All right, our next speaker is Roderick Caesar III, who appears to be in the room multiple times. Will the person who is Roderick Caesar III please click the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen so we can provide you the opportunity to provide your testimony. All right, we'll go ahead and promote that speaker so they're able to provide their testimony.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. Hello. Thank you to Natasha and to Mia and everyone that's been working so hard on this project. My name is Roderick Caesar III. I'm the lead pastor of Foundation Church, formerly Bethel Gospel Tabernacle in Jamaica, Queens, New York, located at 110-25 Guyborough Boulevard. Our proposed plan as a church and ministry is to build housing on our parking lots. We have a parking lot located at 110-18 Guyborough Boulevard with a lot of property on it, and we'd like to be in favor of changing the zoning so that we could accommodate more people and continue to remain a trusted resource in our community. Our initial vision with parking was, of course, to provide space for people to park as they attend our services, but with changing times, we see that our priority needs to change to not only assist the spiritual needs of folks in the community, but the physical needs as well. changing the zoning would give us more space to be able to house people and combat the housing crisis that we see that our community in South Jamaica has been facing. So thank you so much for allowing me this time to speak and share. Folks from our congregation will be submitting some of their written proposals as well. Once again, thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for your testimony and for being here today. All right, we will move to our next speaker, Reverend Hugh Hamilton, followed by Barbara Campbell, followed by Hanif Parker. Reverend Hugh Hamilton, you are our next speaker. We'll promote you to panelist, and you'll be able to share your testimony.
You're hearing me? I hope you're hearing me.
Yes, we can hear you. Wonderful.
So I speak on behalf of the First United Methodist Church of Hollis, located at 91-31, 191st Street in Hollis, 36,000 square feet of land. In 2018, the congregation began considering repurposing their property for mission-driven development. There was agreement by the church leadership to pursue this. However, the congregation did not know how to proceed, and therefore we contacted City Society, where Reverend Bill Shillady was the director, and he began to assist us, and he's still with us today, even though he has retired. Our church wants to be in mission to the community, and we can't do so with our current buildings in their present state, and that is why we seek to be in partnership with you and other city departments to develop our property to do senior affordable housing. Our dream is a mixed-use senior affordable housing building with supportive services in which the church would also have a brand new facility for our ministry. We have waited for 7 years to start the project and delayed it another year, hoping that we could build more units if the upzoning was done. And we hope that the Department of Planning and City Council member Natasha Williams will support our church being included in the upzoning of the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan, because that will give us the opportunity to do more affordable housing. We want to have an impact on the city's housing crisis, and our project will benefit the whole community, eliminating the eyesore that the property is presently because of deferred maintenance, as well as creating a new lively neighborhood in the process. I want to thank you for giving us this opportunity to share, but we are hoping to work collaboratively with the city in developing this space for senior affordable housing in a way that will benefit the entire community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for your testimony and for being here today. All right, we will move to our next speaker, Barbara Campbell, followed by Hanif Parker, followed by Azulda Antrim. Barbara Campbell will promote you to panelist so that you're able to provide your testimony.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Barbara Blake Campbell from First Presbyterian Church in Jamaica, where the lead pastor is Reverend Patrick Hugh O'Connor. Thanks for giving us this opportunity to express how the redesign of the Jamaica corridor is not only affecting our congregants, but the community at large. This raises questions as to what quality of life it will be for our residents, visitors, and patrons. Being a member of First Presbyterian Church in Jamaica for more than 42 years has given me the vantage point to experience Jamaica in many ways, but also to be a part of a landmark church that has historically served for almost 400 years as a beacon of hope, a model, an archetype of holistic enrichment for many within and outside the congregation. This has been achieved through its many offerings and investment in the Tree of Life building. This building has not only 174 units of affordable housing, but also provides services to support the health and well-being through its partnership with Cornell University Cooperative Extension and Community Health Network. Although we have done our part to address the need of affordable housing by providing 174 units, there remains the need for 100% housing with equity. While we welcome and wholeheartedly support this vast improvement plan to the Jamaica area, we would like to see inclusion of community centers that benefit all individuals across the lifespan, added urban area codes for new schools, as well as a practical congestion design that supports safe pedestrian pathways and adequate parking. It is also no secret that there's a glaring sanitation problem that obscure whatever aesthetics that's been in the downtown area, which can potentially be a breeding ground for health risk. Public bathrooms are noticeably lacking, which has led to individuals using church grounds and alleyways to relieve themselves. Additionally, one other major concern is the one-lane bus route implemented 2 years ago, which has crippled the retail business and limited the pedestrian traffic and patrons to the region, impacting revenue for the retail owners. Attention to these concerns would be greatly appreciated. And once again, I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. If you could also submit your written testimony, you did break up just a little bit in the middle of your testimony, so we want to make sure that we get your full comments. If you can submit those, that would be great.
I will, and I thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Hanif Parker, followed by Azulda Antrim, followed by Leonard Jacobs. Hanif Parker, you're our next speaker. You'll be promoted to panelist to share your testimony. Hi, welcome.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Hani Park. I'm an organizer with Queens Power. As a person who represents over 100,000 people in Queens, one of the blaring things is affordable housing. I think Dr. Campbell summarized a lot of the contingencies and plans that would, be really practical for the space. So I won't double down on that. But what I would say is that affordable housing is a diverse diaspora in New York City as a whole. Jamaica is the epicenter of culture. So I would hope that it would mirror practical affordability and home ownership as well. So there's equity. The Tree of Life is something that is a sign and a beacon of hope in downtown Jamaica. So I think we need more things that represent that. That's all I'll say.
Great. Thank you for being here and for providing your testimony. All right. Our next speaker is Azulda Antrim, followed by Leonard Jacobs, followed by Greg Mays. Let's see. Azulda Antrim indicated registration via dial-in. If you are in the room, please dial *9 to indicate that you are here so we can hear your testimony. Azulda Antrim, dial *9. All right, not seeing an indication that that speaker is in the room. If you do join, we will come back to you. We will move to our next speaker, Leonard Jacobs. Leonard Jacobs, you'll be promoted to panelist and able to provide your testimony. It looks like you're still, oh, there we go.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, welcome.
Great, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Leonard Jacobs. I'm the Executive Director at the Jamaica Center for Arts and Learning. We are a cultural institution located here in the Special District since 1972. We operate the Jamaica Arts Center and 2 blocks away, the Jamaica Performing Arts Center. I was appointed by Councilmember Williams to serve on the steering committee for the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan. And so not only in my capacity running the cultural institution, but also having an opportunity to listen to what the community thinks of many of the proposals that have been coming forward. And I really wanted to just thank everybody for that opportunity to observe and to listen and to learn. I also serve on Community Board 12, and I took particular note of Reverend Thorbes's advocacy that there should be more meetings like this one. I would just like to second that. I absolutely encourage you all on the city side to make extra sure that all of the voices that want to be heard are heard. There have been questions about that in the past, and I really want to exhort you to make sure that that's the case. Very quickly, because of the conversation about affordable housing, we've been looking at the Jamaica Arts Center for some time as an opportunity to add some floors that would include housing. In fact, in our master plan, which was approved and adopted in the long ago year of 2003, it was always imagined that additional floors would be added to the building. In the previous version of the plan, it was a studio space and performance space. But in consultation with our stakeholders, I should add, just for sake of transparency, we have really good working partnerships with Greater Jamaica, Greater Nexus, the Jamaica Y, York College, and Resorts World. And so between all of them and our elected leaders and civic stakeholders, we've been very actively exploring what it would look like to add floors to our building that would provide up to, as I understand it, 40 additional units of affordable housing, which we would make permanently affordable. That would make our institution more financially sustainable and would be consonant with the height of the buildings currently next to us. We're not looking to go above that. So without getting into any more detail about that, the point is the zoning would need to change in order for us to fulfill that vision first established in 2003. And so I just want to sort of rise in support of the zoning change with the proviso, again, that the city take into very careful consideration what all of the zoning changes would mean. I'm speaking on behalf of my institution, but on behalf of the entire community, please keep that in mind. I have 3 seconds. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate the cognizance of the clock. And if you have any prepared remarks, written remarks, we would of course welcome them.
It'll be submitted. It'll be submitted.
Thanks for your time and for being here today. Our next speaker is Greg Mays, followed by Jermaine Sean Smith, followed by Leslie Chaplin. Greg Mays, you'll be our next speaker. You'll be promoted to panelist in just a moment.
Here we go.
Hi, welcome.
Hey, how are you?
Great.
Great. Okay, greetings one and all. I'm Greg Mays, the founder and executive director of A Better Jamaica Incorporated. We're a Jamaica-based and focused nonprofit organization with a mission of engaging in activities designed to strengthen the set of Southeast Queens neighborhoods known collectively as Jamaica. Among other things, A Better Jamaica presents the greatest number of free outdoor cultural events in Southeast Queens. In FY24, we presented 30 of these events, 22 movies spread across 6 different parks, including 5 of those movies shown in downtown Jamaica's Rufus King Park, 4 Jamaica Dance Festival events, all presented in downtown Jamaica's Rufus King Park, and recently 4 Parsons Plaza Music Festival dates at downtown Jamaica's only public plaza, the recently opened Parsons Plaza. As the leader of said organization, as the former chair of Community Board 12's Parks Committee, I'm happy to provide this testimony regarding the rezoning of downtown Jamaica and 2 corridors that originate in the downtown Merrick and Guy Brewer Boulevards. Most striking about the area under rezoning consideration is the shortage of green space in the historically and now increasingly dense downtown area. The only large space in downtown portion of the area is Rufus King Park. A visit to that park at any time of day provides clear indication that the park is overused. Downtown Jamaica desperately needs additional green space, especially given the increasing number of people who reside and will reside in the downtown. Because there's so little vacant land in the downtown, the only effective means of providing additional park space is to integrate new space into future development. This could be accomplished by granting zoning variances that would give developers the opportunity to build even taller than what's being proposed in exchange for the development of additional street level open spaces. An alternative plan would be to build public /park /green space on top of future parking facilities. Fortunately, we don't have to look very far to see an example of this creative expansion of green /open space. When Jamaica-based St. John's University needed an additional athletic field and additional parking, they built Belson Stadium, a 2,168 seat soccer stadium with a parking structure beneath it. When Yankee Stadium needed to replace the park space on which its new stadium would be built and meet additional parking needs, it constructed park space atop a multi-level parking structure. Finally, Harlem's Riverbank State Park, opened in 1993, is built on top of a sewage treatment facility and multi-level parking structure. So let's see, regarding the residential upzoning on Guy Brewer and Merrick Boulevard, all I can do is offer a hearty amen. Density along major corridors is much preferred to development of accessory dwelling units, which are a nightmare. We have destroyed many of Jamaica's neighborhoods with just development that is just sort of out of control. So that's my 30 seconds. That's it for now. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and thanks to Council Joshua Williams for encouraging broad community participation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for being here and for your participation. If you have written remarks, we'd of course welcome them. We do have a speaker that we had skipped previously, Victor T. Hall, that we're going to go to at this time. So Victor Hall, you'll be our next speaker. We'll promote you to panelist in just a moment, and you'll be able to provide your testimony.
Shall I speak now?
Hello, welcome. Yes.
Hello, my name is Reverend Victor Hall. I am the pastor of the Calvary Baptist Church located at 11110 Guy R. Brewer Boulevard. And by the grace of God and the goodness of the people, the good Lord willing, come the third Sunday in September, I will have been the pastor at Calvary for 34 years. And so I have seen over the last 34 years the blight and the problems in our community, from drugs to prostitution to crime to so many things. And so when I learned about this initiative, I definitely want the church to be on board, and we're endeavoring to collect as many signatures as we can to support this endeavor, because in 1992, we opened a 101 unit senior citizen housing complex, which is now 32 years old. And it has been a great, great blessing to so many in the community. Of course, low-income housing is probably the number one problem in New York City, or in the top 2 or 3 problems anyway. And then in 2016, we were able to erect a grandparents housing unit, which is about 56 units, but those are 2 bedrooms as opposed to 1 bedroom, because they are designed to accommodate both the grandparent and who has legal custody of their grandchildren for many, many different reasons. And that has turned out to be another great blessing to our community. We have one last parcel of land that we would like to develop in the way of commercial enterprises and more low-income housing. And the zoning changes that would enable us to do that. I say to our members, we use our parking lot, which is a large parcel of land, about 4 hours at the most on Sunday. And post-COVID, we use it less now than we did before. So I told them, every time you look at that parking lot, other than the 4 hours on Sunday, that's just wasted money. It's wasted jobs. It's wasted opportunity. It's wasting a better lifestyle for people, young people, seniors, and a whole lot of other people in the community who would need the kind of facility that we envision erecting. And so we are in full support of this initiative.
Thank you very much for your testimony and for being here. I'm glad we were able to hear your testimony today. Thank you. We will go back to our current place in the speaker order, which is Jermaine Sean Smith will be our next speaker, followed by Leslie Chaplin, followed by Sharina Bryce. Jermaine Sean Smith, you will be our next speaker, so you'll be promoted to panelist now so that you're able to provide your testimony.
Good afternoon, Jermaine Sean Smith, Executive Director of the Southern Queens Park Association, SQPA. I'm also a steering committee member, despite an oversight of our organization not being on the earlier list. The Southern Queens Park Association is a community-driven organization with stewardship of Roy Wilkins Park, dedicated to enhancing the quality of life for residents in Southern Queens for almost 5 decades. SQPA's community programs extend beyond Roy Wilkins, aiming to strengthen the social fabric of downtown Jamaica, with satellite locations at South Jamaica Cornerstone and Beacon Program at Middle School 8, funded by DYCD. From cultural events to workshops and recreational activities, these initiatives serve as a catalyst for community engagement, empowerment, and cohesion. Through its unwavering dedication to the holistic development of residents, SQPA provides a pivotal role in shaping a vibrant and resilient community in the heart of downtown Jamaica. Rezoning efforts in downtown Jamaica present a unique opportunity to emphasize the importance of community spaces, particularly those designed to cater to the needs of youth, foster community development, and other valuable resources. These spaces play a pivotal role in shaping the social fabric, economic vitality, and the overall well-being of the community. Here's a little bit of an exploration of those significances. Youth gathering spaces, where nurturing social cohesion can happen, empowering creativity and expression. Community development and training venues, education and skill enhancement, entrepreneurship and invention and innovation spaces, resource accessibility, information hubs, support networks, cultural preservation, celebration, preserving our heritage, our community heritage, fostering inclusivity. So in downtown Jamaica rezoning efforts, real estate developers should prioritize allocating free to low cost first level spaces for community programming. This commitment ensures accessibility venues for education and engagement. Furthermore, establishing a pipeline for nonprofit contributions and facilities, sustainable community development, fostering partnerships and that contribute to the overall well-being and growth in the area. In conclusion, the strategic inclusion of community spaces like main levels of newly erected buildings in rezoning efforts for downtown Jamaica not only enhances the physical landscape, but also contributes to the social, economic, and cultural development and resource accessibility. These spaces become catalysts for positive change, creating a more resilient, vibrant, and interconnected community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks so much for your testimony, and of course, appreciate your service on the steering committee. All right. Our next speakers are Leslie Chaplin and Sharina Bryce. Neither of these two speakers appear to be in the Zoom. If either of you are in via phone, if you could dial *9 at the moment so that we can hear your testimony. *9 for Leslie Chaplin or Sharina Bryce if you're in the room. All right, not seeing these two speakers, so we will note that you're being skipped, and if you join later in the meeting, we will come back to you. Our next speakers are Tiana Liriano, Whitney Barrett, and Daniel Asabus Sarpong. So Tiana Liriano, you're our next speaker. You'll be promoted to panelist. You can share your remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tiana Liriano. I am the Director of Development for Greater Jamaica Development Corporation. I am sharing our testimony on behalf of our President and CEO, Justin Rogers. We profoundly support the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan, which aims to introduce new zoning regulations that will facilitate increased mixed-use development density in our area. Through the mandatory inclusionary housing program, the plan will allow for the creation of over 11,000 residential units with approximately 2,900 income restricted units. This approach will allow for the development of housing alongside community and retail facilities on currently underutilized sites. The inclusion of new community facilities will provide space for job training programs and cultural activities. Housing plays a crucial role in enhancing well-being through its interconnectivity with one's daily life. Having access to affordable, stable, secure, and safe housing enables individuals and families to allocate more of their income towards necessities like healthy food, healthcare, and childcare, thereby significantly improving overall well-being. The plan aligns with ongoing activities at Greater Jamaica Development Corporation, such as the redevelopment of the Parsons Garage into a quality mixed-use development. This project is expected to create over 500 housing units, with a subset of these units dedicated to fostering generational wealth through home ownership. The redevelopment will also revitalize the Parsons Boulevard corridor through the provision of parking and ground floor community and retail facilities. Moreover, the plan prioritizes safety enhancements and infrastructure improvements. These efforts will generate numerous short-term and long-term job opportunities for the community. The plan serves as a crucial tool for organizations like Greater Jamaica to advance community-focused programs and developments, ultimately transforming downtown Jamaica and its surrounding areas into vibrant places for residents to live, work, and enjoy. In conclusion, Greater Jamaica strongly urges the New York City Department of Planning, the community, and all stakeholders to support the advancement of a Jamaica neighborhood plan through the environmental impact statement, public scoping meeting, and the uniform land use review, also known as the ULURP process. The Jamaica neighborhood plan promises significant benefits for our community. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks for being here and providing the testimony. Our next speaker is Whitney Barrett, followed by Daniel Asabo Sarpong, followed by Vanessa Sparks. Whitney Barrett, we will promote you to panelist in just a minute.
Hi there.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much. I will jump right in. Thanks for having me. Thanks to Councilmember Williams, Department of City Planning. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Downtown Jamaica Partnership, Jamaica's Business Improvement District organization. We work to beautify the neighborhoods, support our small businesses, and enable our commercial district to thrive. As others have stated, this rezoning is a tremendous opportunity, not only to right wrongs, but to enable Jamaica to serve as a beacon for other communities and to do things right. By now, a lot has been said, so I'll be echoing others' points and hoping to harness the power of repetition. In the interest of time, I'm just going to launch into the areas I'd like to emphasize, which are largely focused on capital improvements to our neighborhood. Number one, we need better, brighter, and more reliable street lighting, especially along Jamaica Avenue, Parsons Boulevard, Archer, Sutphin, by the air train under the LIRR, with a focus on pedestrian walkways and side streets. We'd like more greenery, trees, large planters, hanging flower baskets. We'd like to see improved pedestrian walkways along Archer Avenue. They're narrow and accessible in some spaces, underlit. Capital investment to improve the York College underpasses with strong, even lighting and broader pedestrian walkways would improve safety and encourage connectivity for students between the campus and Jamaica Avenue. This has been mentioned. We'd like to see a serious modification of the busway along Jamaica Avenue, one that would give us back travel lane for vehicles, wider pedestrian walkways, bike lanes, and restore parking and patronage for our businesses. Jamaica is an economic engine. We want to see it restored to that driver as it was before. We'd like more investment in public spaces, especially considering the anticipated increase to the school-age population, more amenities, play spaces, splash parks, community gardens, amongst others. We want to ensure our small businesses aren't priced out as Jamaica changes. We suggest considering something akin to a kind of a refurbished Jamaica market, like the one that's currently here in Jamaica, or something like Industry Kitchen in Grand Central to enable smaller entrepreneurs who provide much needed food establishments to get a foothold and win their business. We'd like to see funding to repave and redesign the 165th Street Mall, which was not included in the $62 million repaving streetscape improvement funding announced last year. It's a great opportunity to rethink that whole space. It's a true asset for Jamaica. It would allow more cultural uses, live performance, connectivity for our community. We'd like to see considerable capital investment in Jamaica's cultural buildings, JCAL, JPAC, King Manor. These are really going to be critical as the community grows and changes. I have more. I'm going to stop now. I'm going to submit everything in written testimony, but I will just leave it there. Thanks for having me. Thanks for allowing me to share these points.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for your testimony and for being here. All right. We will go to our next speaker, Daniel Acebo Sarpong, who I don't believe is in the room. Daniel, if you are in the room, if you could dial *9 on your phone if you've joined via telephone. All right, not seeing this speaker in the room, so we'll go to our next speaker, Vanessa Sparks, to be followed by Maureen Gray, followed by Berta Olayinka. Vanessa Sparks, you're our next speaker. We'll promote you to panelist in just a minute.
Good afternoon, and I apologize. I'm joining you from my phone, and for some reason, it does not allow me to put the camera on. So I just want to say that in advance. So my name is Vanessa Sparks. I am a lifelong resident, more than 60 years of Jamaica, Queens. I have seen Jamaica, Queens. I know of Jamaica, downtown Jamaica, as it's now called, during its heyday and all its vibrancy, and I've seen what unfortunately it has descended to. So the only thing I want to add, and as a resident, I'm not speaking, I'm not a part of any of the organizations that have spoken, but what I will say regarding the upzoning, and several of the houses of worship and others have spoke about developing affordable housing or housing, that they engage with their neighbors in the areas of where they propose to put this housing, because it's great that they want to develop housing, and I'm not sure how I feel about the change in zone, only because of the mistrust I have, quite honestly, with city agencies when they say that it's one thing and then it turns out to be something different, but that they engage in meaningful dialogue with those affected communities and affected areas on how something like this will affect those individuals' quality of life. Many, myself included, would like to see what is now called downtown Jamaica. I haven't gotten used to saying that yet. Return to some sort of vibrancy. However, before I think any of this discussion can be done, I would like to see the city of New York enforce what is already on the books by way of sanitation and policing and those other areas, because it doesn't make sense to me to erect all of this new stuff and there's going to be no enforcement for it to be maintained that way, because currently there is a huge lack of enforcement. So that's what I want to add to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for raising those points and for joining us today. All right, our next speaker is Maureen Gray, followed by Verda Olayinka, followed by Chantel Stewart. Maureen Gray, you're our next speaker. We'll promote you to panelist. Hi, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I do apologize that I don't have prepared written remarks, so I will be talking off the top of my head. I just want to say thank you to Natasha Williams for sending the link yesterday for this meeting. I am Maureen Gray. I am a history teacher. I'm a graduate of the College of William and Mary, which is the second oldest college in the United States. So I want you to understand that history is very important to me. I started a local historical group in Southeast Queens. And Southeast Queens, particularly the town of Springfield, which is pretty much south of Hollis. I am going to say a quote from someone who's a local historian who passed away 10 years ago this year. And ironically, the Jamaica post office is named for him. His name is Clarence Irving, Sr. His quote is, "I've always wanted to leave something on this earth the way something was left for me." So the concentration of my comments will deal with the historic sites in Jamaica. And that also includes Southeast Queens. The reason for me starting this little history group of mine is because I could not save or get anything landmarked with my church and day school. So it was demolished in 2022, a 126-year-old building. And I have been up to Jamaica Avenue just yesterday, and I just feel a sense of death that's come over Jamaica Avenue in that many of the historic buildings are gone. There is no colonial building left in Queens. Any place that George Washington sat, ate, slept, fed his horse, they're all gone. And I think that there's this need to redevelop without a sense of history. And King's Manor is not the only historical site that we should be saving in Queens, particularly in Jamaica. And yes, it is the largest park. It is dedicated to someone who was for abolition of slavery, which is commendable. But the other side of Merrick was an area called the Green. And for some of you who don't know, Jamaica Avenue is our Mason-Dixon line. Black slaves and Black freedmen were not allowed to go past Jamaica Avenue. So I'm noticing that when the train station came at Archer, Black businesses were moved off of Hillside Avenue because the Blacks and minorities were not taking the train and bus up there anymore. We were relegated to the south of Jamaica Avenue. There seems to be a perpetuation, whether knowingly or unknowingly, of this continuation of our separation. So I would propose that we start keeping something that's of Jamaica. Grace Church was built 5 years after Trinity Church in downtown Manhattan. That area is historically preserved in certain places.
All
And I
right,
believe
your
that
time
Jamaica
is up.
Avenue is one of those places we should consider.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for your time. Of course, we accept off-the-cuff comments and appreciate if you'd like to send anything additional in writing to us as well. Thank you for being here. All right, our next speaker is Verda Olayinka, followed by Chattel Stewart, followed by Valerie Williams. We are getting to the end of our speakers list, so if anyone has not yet registered to speak, we do encourage you to visit the NYC Engage page to register to speak. You can click the link that says register. Verda Olayinka, you are our next speaker.
Audio, visual.
Hi, welcome.
Hello. All right. I am Verda Olayinka. I am also a long-term resident of Jamaica, Queens, Adelaide Park since 1955. I would like to say that there is a big problem in Jamaica, Queens regarding foreclosures. And my virtual background is still loading. Do you hear me? Okay. Hello?
Yes, we do hear you.
I'm losing time. I'm losing time. Did you heard the beginning?
Yes, we did.
Okay. All right. My concern is the number of foreclosures and that all of the improvements that you are mentioning seem to be focused on new residents, the new residents that have come in to benefit from the community improvements. And I do agree with the previous speaker, the two previous speakers, that the loss of housing for people is very, very critical. My research, I am a researcher, and my research shows that have been 17,000 foreclosures as of last March. And so there are more. And so they are being replaced with gentrification, and that is not beneficial to the community residents or the cultural activities that many of the speakers have been promoting in this discussion. So I just want to look at what can be done to save the housing of current residents throughout Jamaica. And that is a very critical issue. The home values have increased. We know what that's all about, but and the housing of seniors is very good, but now the seniors who are losing their properties, how can we save some of those properties for families and dealing with housing improvement rather than complete housing loss and new residents to come in? So I appreciate the opportunity to speak and share. I look forward to the different organizations. I am open. My number 718-781-6049, 6059, 718-781-6059. Berta Olayinka, Addisley Park. I'm a researcher. I'm open to discussion and to joining the groups that are seeking more assistance in developing this plan. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. If you have any research or additional information that you'd like to share, please mail or email that to us.
Right.
We appreciate you being here. Thank you.
I've already shared my information, my book that I wrote, Resist Turbulent Times, Ways to Save Ourselves. There is a chapter 5 on
we have to move on to our next speaker, but we really appreciate you being here. Thanks so much. All right. Our next speaker is Chantel Stewart, followed by Valerie Williams, followed by Lorraine Powell. Chantel Stewart, we are not seeing you in the Zoom room. So if you have joined us by phone and are here, if you could dial *9 to indicate that you're present, we'll go to you next. All right, not seeing Chantel Stewart, so we will move on to Valerie Williams. Valerie Williams, you're our next speaker. We'll promote you and hear your testimony. Hi, good afternoon. We can't hear you quite yet. You may need to, if there's an unmute button, or if you're on your phone, you can dial *6. Hi.
I think I just unmuted myself.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Actually, it was not my intent to sign up to speak. I just wanted to join in and listen. But I do want to thank Councilwoman Natasha Williams and certainly the Department of City Planning for holding this hearing, and looking forward to being able to participate more fully in the future. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for taking time out of your day to be here and be an engaged participant. All right. Our next speaker is Lorraine Powell, followed by LaTanya Harris. Lorraine Powell. I do not believe that we are seeing you in the Zoom, so we will skip Lorraine Powell and move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker, LaTanya Harris, has indicated that they are via dial-in. So if that speaker could indicate that they're here by dialing *9. LaTanya Harris, if you are in the room, go ahead and dial *9 on your phone. All right. I don't believe we're seeing that speaker at the moment, which does bring us to the end of our registered speakers queue, including anyone that we skipped through the duration. So at this point, we're going to take a brief pause so that anyone who might be watching on YouTube or was not able to join. I do see we have a dial-in. If the person who joined via phone is Latanya Harris and can dial *9 to indicate that they are present, we can provide you the opportunity to provide your testimony. Great. Let's go ahead and promote that speaker. Latanya Harris, you are our next speaker. You can dial *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm joining to testify because I think there's a huge gap in what's happening in terms of environmental issues and the quality of life that has not been discussed in totality. Before the Jamaica plan should be implemented, the should really focus on improving the quality of life of the Jamaica residents that will be impacted greatly. There's a young lady that just spoke regarding the residents that live around the surrounding area of Jamaica. Revitalizing a business district is great. Jamaica Avenue has always needed something to be done. I went to August 1 High School, and a lot of the high school children that was a place where we went after school years ago. But I asked that before any improvements are done, you have to consider improving the quality of life issues that currently exist right now. When you're walking to the Long Island Railroad station on Parsons in Jamaica, the trash is horrendous. There's rats running up and down Sufton Boulevard. It's okay to welcome what is currently happening, but if you don't clean up what is currently happening now, it is not going to be a welcoming environment to anyone. So I suggest before the business sounds good and having new housing for the churches. The churches are all gung-ho because they want to build on their property and introduce new housing. That could have been done in a smaller scale. To wait for such a massive citywide zoning, rezoning plan to be put in place and not consider the current quality of life of the Queens residents and the environmental impact that upzoning will have on that area will be, to me, irresponsible for the city. So that is my testimony. I ask that you consider the quality of life, the trash, the issues that are going down. We need supermarkets. There was a young lady who spoke about a week ago who lived in a high-rise building, and she said there's no supermarkets. So you're going to upzone this area for more residential. You're going to take away parking. You have these scooters all over the place. People have to drive because that is the only way they can get out of the neighborhood to get quality of food. These are issues. You have a food desert in that area. And if you're going to take away parking in residential areas, how are people going to get food? You're going to take away parking and you don't want people to drive. How are they going to drive somewhere to get quality food?
All right. Thank you. Your time is up. Thanks so much for participating and for being here. If you do have any additional testimony that you'd like to provide to us, please feel free to mail or email that to us. Thank you so much for participating. At this time, we again have now reached the end of our speakers queue, but we do want to take an opportunity if anyone else would like to register to speak to have an opportunity to do so. If we can move to the slide with our information on how to register, we're going to display that again so that anyone who may have decided to register in the last couple of hours has a chance to do so. So again, please visit nyc.gov/NYC Engage. Click the upcoming meeting page for the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan and click register. If you are in this Zoom webinar and have not heard me call your name, that means you did not register through the NYC Engage page. So we'll ask that you do that now so that we can add you to the speaker's queue and hear your testimony. So at this point, we are going to take a 5-minute pause. Feel free to dial in to the dial-in participant hotline shown at the bottom if you have any questions. So we'll reconvene about 3:58. So we'll go ahead and start the timer and speak with you all soon. Please feel free to register now if you haven't already done so. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome back. This is the remote public scoping meeting for the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan. Again, for the record, the Environmental Quality Review or CEQR number is 24DCP132Q. I'm Stephanie Shalou, Director of the Environmental Assessment and Review Division of the Department of City Planning. We're currently on part 3 of the public scoping meeting where members of the public are invited to speak for up to 3 minutes on this matter. We had taken a brief 5-minute pause for anyone who had not yet registered to speak to have an opportunity to do so. During this time, we had a member of the public, Lisa Edwards, register via the dial-in participant hotline, so we will contact them now. And if we can go to our 3-minute time tracker, perfect. Thank you, production.
Lisa, if you can hear us. Lisa, if you can hear us, press *6 on your phone. Okay, you should be.
Hello.
There you go.
Hi, welcome. We're ready for your
Hello.
testimony.
Hi, I'm Lisa Edwards. I'm a resident of Jamaica, Queens. My children were born in Jamaica, Queens, and are now 23 and 20 years old. And I don't see any way for them to stay in Jamaica, Queens. The affordable housing that's being proposed is affordable at the rate of 30%, which means that 70% will not be affordable, and therefore the neighborhood would change. And instead of being this multi-generational, multicultural neighborhood of working class people, it will be gentrified to people who have been displaced out of the very high housing market. I came from Spanish Harlem, and I've seen what the so-called affordable housing units produce, and it produces gentrification. In addition, there aren't enough green spaces. I echo what other people have said. I don't see any real proposed green spaces in this plan, and parking is almost non-existent. With the influx of these e-bikes, we've seen parking spaces disappear. They now have no standing signs where we used to be able to park. In addition, these e-bikes are being left everywhere, becoming a hazard to senior citizens. They're blocking bus stops, etc. Garbage disposal and the aesthetics has also been a problem here. There's garbage all over Parsons Avenue. I'm a block away from Jamaica, and to increase these mass mega stores will make it harder for us to park and harder for us to move around. In addition, the traffic has also increased with the rezoning that we already have, which has blocked out sunlight. I feel that there hasn't been enough community engagement, despite what people are saying on this call. I knew nothing about this rezoning project. The community has not been canvassed like they do when people are running for official offices. Then I get all these flyers, people knocking on my door, but when it's rezoning that will definitely impact my community, no one's knocking. I was not able to be part of any steering committee because I did not know. So I think you need to focus on the individuals instead of the big players, some of who I support, some who I do not, because I don't think that's a grassroots approach. We need to speak to the people who are residing in this community and get them on board. And we need to fix what's broken first. I agree with the last speaker, before taking on new projects. That's it.
Great. Thanks for your perspective and being here. Thank you so much for your participation.
Speak to the people who are residing.
All right. Thank you so much. This was our last registered speaker. So again, if I have not called your name, you have not registered to speak. So I'll just ask at this time if anyone else who is in the meeting who has not yet had the opportunity to speak wishes to do so. All right, we have not received any additional speaker registrants. So at this time, if we can display the screen with the information on how to provide written comments. If anyone had difficulty providing testimony, if we had any technical issues, or if you were not present in the Zoom when we called your name, please recall that we welcome you to submit your written testimony, and that can be online through email at the email address shown here, 24dcp132q_dl@planning.nyc.gov. You can also mail them to us in hard mail. Our mailing address is 120 Broadway, 31st floor, New York, New York, 10271. Attention to myself, Stephanie Shalou at City Planning. And please make sure to get these to us by 5 p.m. on Monday, July 22nd, 2024. And we will, of course, give them the same attention and consideration as all the comments we heard during this meeting. And as a reminder, the comments will all be summarized and responded to in detail in the final scope of work. So that's where you can find all the summary of this comments and responses, and that document will be posted on the Department of City Planning website. Thank you all so very much for your participation. We appreciate your comments, taking your time out of your busy day, and being engaged in your community. So thanks so much. This public scoping meeting is now closed. It is 4:06 p.m. Thanks so much. Have a great afternoon.